Today we're going to be talking about the scariest thing to come out of the Southwest since all-you-can-eat gas station sushi.
And on that note, I have a ton of sushi to eat.
I'm talking about skinwalkers. Not to be confused with skinny walkers. Don't fear skinny walkers. They're just malnourished hikers. That's all. Let's dive into our first encounter. This happened in Red Canyon, Utah in 2013. It's the perfect setting for either a nature documentary or the first 5 minutes of a horror movie where absolutely everyone dies. Our first victim, witness, is Jake Hensley, a geology student who thought it would be a brilliant idea to stay an extra night and camp alone after his friends on a field trip left.
Good idea.
You know, because nothing says I make good decisions like staying behind in a murder canyon. Jake is probably thinking, I'm just studying rocks. What's the worst that could happen? A rogue pebble?
That's a stupid little pebble!
A crazy boulder?
That is a nice boulder.
Wrong, Jake. So very wrong. At midnight, Jake heard twigs snapping outside his tent.
What's that sound?
Now, I don't know about you, but if I hear mysterious noises in the wilderness, I'm not peeking outside. I'm crafting a full suit of armor out of granola bars and preparing for battle.
You should have left your armor on for that.
But Jake? No. He looked outside. You know what he saw? He saw a coyote.
They got a coyote!
Just sitting there chilling, watching him.
It's just a coyote.
Then the coyote stood up on two legs, like it was about to go hunting for roadrunners. I know what you're thinking. Hey, no big deal, right? I've seen these cartoons. All Jake had to do was get some Acme paint and paint a tunnel onto the side of a cliff, and the coyote would run right into the rock. But hey, apparently it wasn't that kind of a bipedal coyote.
Wile-E Coyote. Super genius.
Jake, demonstrating the survival instincts of a moth at a bug zapper convention, decided to do the only thing that made sense to him at that moment. Whistle.
Give a little whistle.
Because nothing says don't eat me like a jaunty little tune. So what happens when Jake whistles? Well, obviously, the coyote whistled back. I mean, he's not rude, which means either this is a skinwalker or Disney has really gone over the top with their new live-action remakes. As Jake fled back to his truck, he claims that he heard it whisper his name. So not only can this thing mimic a perfect pitched whistle, but it also apparently checked his driver's license when he wasn't looking. Man, thank God Jake got out of there when he did, because next, that furry little critter would have whispered his social security number and maybe his credit card info. This is a little-known fact, but skinwalkers are notorious for identity theft.
So basically, identity theft.
Right.
Moving on to our second encounter, and this one makes the whistling coyote thing seem about as threatening as a labradoodle on a bad hair day. This happened in Navajo Nation in 1997. Maria Yazdi is a nurse, and she was driving home from a 12-hour shift. Ooh, 12 hours. That's a lot. After that kind of a day, we're lucky she didn't think she was the skinwalker.
I've had a long day.
Maria notices something running alongside her car at 50 miles an hour. Apparently, Maria encountered the Usain Bolt skinwalkers. Looking over, she gasped in exhausted terror. It was a wolf-like thing with matted, sweat-slicked fur, red eyes, drool trailing from its gaping maw. So either a skinwalker or it was my cousin Todd after a 3-day video game marathon. Then her radio turned to static and growled her name. Maria grinned, thinking she must have won the trip to Cabo from WSKN, where classic rock never dies. But unfortunately for her, the radio wasn't actually turned on, just her name and the static. Maria floored it, praying in Navajo as she sped home and somehow left the NASCAR-driving skinwalker behind.
Somebody must have been praying for that fool.
Now, years later, Maria still remembers that horrible night. It stays with her to this day, and she absolutely flat-out refuses to ever work 12-hour shifts again. Those are horrible. Also, she tries to avoid the road where the skinwalker raced her. Our third encounter involves Benjamin Torres, a widower in Arizona whose dogs woke him up at 3 a.m. Now, as a dog owner myself, I know this could mean one of two things. Either the house is on fire, or I just saw my own shadow and I really need you for emotional support right now.
It's got nothing to do with barking dogs.
Ben looks outside and sees what he describes as a half-man, half-owl creature. Ben asks the thing in a shaky voice, "How many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop?" The owl growled, "I don't know. I never made it without biting." Scariest candy commercial ever.
Always reminded me of that cartoon owl in the Tootsie Pop commercial.
"What are you?" Ben asked finally. Who? Elena. This feathery nightmare was screeching his dead wife's name like some kind of Timu version of Poe's Raven.
Quoth the raven, nevermore.
After making sure it wasn't the talking coyote practicing ventriloquism, Ben drew the blinds and hid in the dark for the rest of the night. The next morning, Ben found claw marks on his barn door. Now, could be a skinwalker or a really aggressive door-to-door salesman. Finally, we have Thomas Redding. He's a logger from the Gila National Forest back in 1986.
He don't give a shit if you're a logger or a tree hugger.
Tom was just doing his job, probably thinking about logs, just sitting, contemplating logs, looking at logs, really just having a whole day about logs. And suddenly a deer ran past him. But I guess Harry Potter's polyjuice potion picked exactly that moment to run out because
we'll have to wait for the polyjuice potion to know for sure.
That's when the deer lurched up onto two legs and transformed back into some kind of a humanoid creature. Tom gaped at the thing and said the only thing he could given the situation. Oh, deer.
Oh dear.
And then it charged at him with unnatural speed, ready to exact revenge for that awful pun. Tom dropped his axe and ran to his crew, shouting that something's out there. It's not natural. It's not natural. Which I imagine was met with responses like, why the hell did you drop your axe, you idiot? Tom, come here. Come here, Tom. Between the two of us. Next time, a supernatural, murderous humanoid creature runs at you, and you are the one holding the axe, hang on to the axe. He quit his job the next day, leaving all of his gear and personal items behind. And when a logger abandons his Scooby-Doo lunchbox and matching thermos, that's when you know this is serious.
You used to be a logger.
So what have we learned so far?
The first rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club.
Not that. Don't camp alone. Don't drive alone. Don't live alone. Maybe just don't be alone ever. And if animals start mimicking you, they're either skinwalkers or parrots. You know what? Either way, that's just plain creepy.
Parrots are the finest linguists in the animal kingdom.
Did these people experience supernatural and malicious entities? Or did they experience supernatural and malicious peyote and mushrooms?
Hansel, haven't you been smoking peyote for 6 straight days?
Either way, something weird is happening in the Southwest. So what exactly is a skinwalker? Why do they seem obsessed with the Four Corners region? And more importantly, why haven't they started their own YouTube channel yet? Then again, what do we really know about Mr. Beast? I mean, his name is Mr. Beast. Please subscribe so I can validate my already fractured ego and keep making these videos. And if you happen to see a talking coyote or a possessed deer or owl, ask them to subscribe too. So long.